All right, everybody, first of the month, that means a new interview. Merga is my teammate at Minnesota Elite. We joined about the same time. He's been killing it on the roads. He had a great race down at the Big 7 earlier this year. He ran really good at the US 20K Champions, ran sub 1 hour, which is crazy. Just finished up in New York at the Cow Harbor 10K, ran sub 29 on a very hilly course. He's about to run the TC 10 mile, so he is an absolute animal on the longer stuff on the roads. He has some great stuff to say. Let's go. All right, here we are with Merga. Thanks, Merga.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, so we're just going to hop right into this. So first thing I want to ask you about is when you were in college at the University of South Dakota, what went into or what kind of led you to get into running the 10K?
Well, even in high school, I wasn't much of a short distance guy. I tried every event, like from 400, 800, and it didn't seem like I had the speed to do those shorter events. So eventually I did like the 2 mile and I kind of loved it in high school. So, and then in college, I did the 8K and I just found out that was the distance I was better at, and then slowly move up to the 10K, and since then I've been loving the 10K.
Okay, nice. So since you've ran your fair share of 10Ks on the track and you ran good time there, what is your best advice for people who are doing a 10K on the track?
It's a really mental game, 10K. If you're out of it early on, it's kind of hard to keep it going. So what I would say is just like, don't count the laps or like be in the race. Just, you know, it's a long race, so just maintain the pace and try to be in the race. Just be patient. The longer the race is, like, the patient it requires. Like, you don't spend it all on the first half. Just like make sure you have something left, because it's a longer race. If you just go all out in the first half and you're gonna hit the wall, it's kind of gonna be like a longer race. So just be patient and pace yourself.
Okay, yeah, great advice. And I know me and you have talked about this before. That's kind of probably why my 10K PR isn't as good as it should be, because I wasn't very patient. But yeah, definitely goes a long way. So, you know, you moved to Minnesota 2 years ago, Minnesota Elite. Initially, you've done some track stuff, some cross country stuff, and then in recent months, made the decision to jump up, move up, however you want to call it. So not really doing cross anymore. Not doing any, definitely not doing like a 3K, probably not even a 5K again. And even if you do a 10K on the track, it's not your focus. So what went into that decision to jump up in distances?
I mean, I raced a couple of shorter events with Minnesota Distance Elite, and it didn't seem like I was having a success. So, and also I wasn't hitting a high mileage, so it didn't line up with what I'm training for. So eventually, like, I increased my mileage and I moved up to the longer races, which really finding a success in those longer races, and I seems to enjoy it more. It's a longer races and it's not like as quick as the shorter events, and I have more endurance to do those longer races. So like I seems to enjoy it, and seems like it's going great so far. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely is. Had some great races so far, and several more in the future. So I just want to dive into some of the training differences. What are some of the big differences from going from training from, obviously in college, you know, maybe even in indoor, even though it wasn't your main event, you're running some miles and 3Ks, but even difference in that, but also even your first couple years of Minnesota Elite, you know, he's still trying to run some faster 5Ks. So what's the big differences that you see in the training going from being a 5K, 10K guy to being like 10K, 10 mile, half marathon type stuff? What are the big differences?
I would say the big difference is the mileage. Even in college, I did 80, which was a lot for me at the time, given my history of injury. I always did like 80 was my cap. And once I joined MDE, we tried to do like 90 miles the first few weeks I joined, and it didn't seem to go well. So like I was getting injured. But recently, like I did a lot of change in my training, nutrition, and other stuff, and I increased my mileage. Now I'm doing like 100 to 110 consistently every month, and I think the biggest change that I made recently was the mileage, and it's kind of working. So even like I'm not getting injured, like I'm taking recovery seriously, nutrition, sleep, all those things add up, and it seems like it's paying off. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, big jump in the mileage definitely makes sense. How about workouts? What's the big differences on workouts now that you're training for longer stuff?
They're not as intense as they used to be. They're definitely longer, and they're more like LT based, which I really like. Like I'm not hitting the wall every workout, and over the time you kind of get used to that pace, and eventually you're gonna do the same pace in the races. So it's not gonna be as hard when you do a lot of LT workouts. So yeah, that's the big difference between college and now. In college we did like a lot of intensity workouts, but now it's more like volume and then LT paces, which is really doable, and I'm benefiting a lot of those LT workouts.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so you mentioned, you kind of hinted at it, being a little more focused on the fueling and nutrition side of things, given that the mileage is quite a bit more. What are some, is there any specific changes, big changes in that, or just kind of more of a mindset change?
I would say there's a significant change in my nutrition, like from college to now where I'm at. I'm more like careful what I eat, and plus like the recovery, I used to not like care that much about recovery in college, but now like I make sure like I get my proteins in and sleep and eat well. So those kind of stuff that add up, and it kind of works out in my schedule, I guess. But mostly I would say the bigger thing I'm doing now is just like recovery, like a protein shake. Like I didn't do that before in college, but now like I make sure I do that for my recovery.
Okay.
Sleep as well. So
yeah, definitely get away with some things at 80 miles or even 90 that you can't get away with hitting when you're hitting 110. So the protein shakes. And for our viewers, how often is that, like an everyday thing or more of like a post-workout long run?
it's mostly like after hard workouts, but when I have like a even longer easy rate, like runs, I just take the protein, but mostly like after hard workouts, so it helps me to recover. But yeah.
All right, yeah, and then with the more mileage, hinted at this, with longer runs and longer workouts, does that change your pre-run fueling, or how's that look for you?
Oh yeah, that's another thing I forgot to mention, but like from college to now, my long run is a little longer. So what I do is I make sure I fuel. I use like gels in between my long runs before and after, so that way like I'm not gassed out in the race. So I make sure like I take those nutrition, so it helps me in the long run. Like I don't feel like fatigue. So those nutrition helps me a lot.
Yeah. What's your go-to gel?
I've tried a lot of them. I've tried Goo. Not a big fan of Goo.
Yeah.
I've tried Martin. Martin is okay, but it's like too thick for me. So I like the Never Second. Is a little sweet, but I like that, and I like
But the UCAN?
the UCAN.
Yeah,
that's my favorite one. That's the one I take every time I do the long runs, and even before a workout sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, the UCAN gels are nice.
Not
they're not
sponsored.
not sponsored, but if UCAN want to send Merga some gels, go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, UCANs are nice. I mean, I'm not sponsored by any either, but I suggest those to people. They're not too thick. They go down smooth, and they sit really well, and they're not full of a bunch of extra stuff, which sometimes you get that. So yeah, those are nice. Let's see here. So with how much more sleep do you get?
I try to get at least 8 hours if I can, like up until 10 hours if everything goes well. But usually I try to get like consistently 8 hours every day. And then there's sometimes like depending on if it's like a race week, I try to get like 9 to 10. Like I try to go to bed early, and that way like I have well prepared, fresh for the race. So I make sure at least 9 during the race week. But usually consistently I'll try to get like 8 hours every day. So yeah.
Okay. Do you, with the higher mileage and higher training volume, do you find it easier or to get sleep because you're probably a little more tired, or is it you still got to be dialed?
I would say it's much easier because like you're tired from the mileage, so like you're able to sleep well. And plus like the first week I started doing like a higher mileage, I was like super tired. I was getting like 8 to 10 hours like no problem, because like I'd be so tired for the mileage, so like it's easier to sleep. So I would say it's easier when you hit a higher mileage to sleep. So yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so now I kind of want to talk like what would be your advice for someone if they're considering, you know, like you saying, okay, I was a 5K, 10K guy, I'm thinking about moving up to some of the longer road races, 10 mile, you know, 20K, half marathon, maybe marathon. You'll be marathon at some point. What is your advice for people? Like, what should go into that thought process for people to do it or not do it?
I mean, if you're trying to do it, I would say increase your mileage. That's really important. If you're trying to do a higher, like a longer races, definitely mileage is important. And plus, like you have to be smart. If you're doing a high mileage, you can't just like always grinding, always like, at least for me, like that's not how I operate. But because sometimes that might not work for a lot of people, but like try to be smart about your mileage and be consistent. That's really important. Consistency is like what's really important at this level. I mean, you can do a high mileage, but if you're not consistent, like that's not gonna work. So I would probably say be consistent, hit high mileage, and be smart about your training.
Okay.
And do other little things outside of it. Just running, I don't think just running will make you successful, but outside of running, what you do, like I said earlier, like recovery, nutrition, those kind of stuff add up. And if you're consistent, you hit high mileage, I think you're gonna be successful.
Yeah. So is there a situation where maybe if someone said, I'm thinking about moving up like you, that you might suggest them not to? Is there any like, or what would make you say, yeah, hey man, or hey lady, I wouldn't jump up yet?
I would probably say first, like play around with like the shorter events if it works for you, because if you all of a sudden move up to the longer events, like it might break you. Because first, like experience with those like shorter events, see if it works. And because like you won't find success all of a sudden, it's just what you accumulate over time in the longer distance that, you know, works out. But make sure like you, like when I joined MDE first, I did like the shorter events. I saw that wasn't working, so I slowly moved up, and you know, now it's working.
Okay, yeah, that's good advice. So moving forward, looking kind of ahead in the months and years ahead, I mean, well, here in the short term, I mean, this upcoming Sunday you're doing the TC 10 mile. What are your goals for that?
The goals is definitely run faster than last year. I feel like I have gotten a lot more experience within the last few months, like racing against a lot of big names. And I think I've put in the work, the high mileage, I feel more confident. So the goal is just to be in the mix and be up there and not count myself out of the race. So just make sure I'm there with the leaders and try to do something great. So obviously the main goal is just be in the race and run faster than last year. So
okay, yeah, always a good goal. And I know we've talked about that, about, you know, when you do a race, it's nice to do it 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
You don't want to just, it's nice the second year, and a big goal is at least run faster than the previous year when you've been there, done that. So let's kind of more maybe, and obviously don't have like a full calendar yet planned out maybe for the next year or so, but what races do you know about that you're going to be focusing on in the next year or so, roughly?
Yeah, so I've raced a couple of races this season. I did the big 7 mile, which was great. I did the 20K and I loved it. And I also did the Cow Harbor 10K, which went well. And now I'm doing the TC10, and then after that I'll take a few days break and build back up for Houston half. So that will be my first half. So that's gonna be what I'm gonna be focusing on after TC. Take a little break, and then Houston is gonna be the goal. But I'll race like a couple of races in between. But
Sure.
that would be the main goal.
Okay. Yeah, and then even maybe beyond that, do you know any more beyond Houston? I mean, obviously we don't always have the, we don't
Yeah,
always look too far ahead, but do you have any others in mind?
I don't really know the schedule yet. That's the main focus right now, but I feel like I will still do a lot of like the USA ATF like championship, the road races like 20K, 25K, 10K, those kind of stuff. I would always be interested in doing those. So that's pretty much what I'll do. I'll do maybe Grandma's half. It's not for sure, but that's something I would like to do.
Yeah.
And maybe at the end of this year do a marathon. That's not for sure, but that's something I'll plan to do. But before that, I would like to get a couple of halves before I move.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question, kind of where you, or what you were thinking on when you would probably start being more of a marathoner.
Definitely I want to do the CIM next year. That seems to be a good place to do a marathon for first timer. It seems to be a fast course, flat, and I don't want to scare myself on my first marathon, so I want to do that. So probably I would say I'll see if coach let me do the Grandma's half and then focus on the marathon after that. So,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, so a little over a year, and then but you think for sure be aiming at that 2028 Olympic trials in the marathon? Is that something that by then you would be a big focus for you?
Oh yeah, no doubt, that's for sure. I mean that's the goal eventually, but I want to slowly move up to that instead of just suddenly moving up there and kind of getting myself tired. So like do the halves first and a longer races and slowly move up to the marathon. But definitely the 2028 marathon would be the goal for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt, yep.
Good stuff. And then I know this is a ways off, but do you think 2032 Olympic trials marathon's a possibility, or is that something you don't really put much thought into?
I just want to focus on the 2028 and see what's going to happen after that. But
Sure.
for sure that 2028 the marathon would be the main focus moving forward. But we'll see how things play out, and yeah, I might even come back to the channel and give you an update on the 2032. Yep.
Yeah, we may have to. The years down the line, if the channel the channel's still kicking, if YouTube still lets me upload videos.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff. So yeah, like I said in the introduction, videos are going to be a little shorter moving forward, just to hopefully increase audience retention. But we covered a lot of good stuff. Hopefully can be beneficial to people who are trying to do longer races or make that transition. So yeah, so I mean, I'll put probably update the description, put a link to the race results from TC 10 mile from Merga. Video gonna obviously coming out a few days here beforehand, but sticking with the first day of the month. So thanks, Merga. Wish you luck in your training, and obviously this isn't gonna be your last time on the channel, so people will be seeing more of Merga.
Yeah. Thanks, Titus. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.